G'day, let's tear down this personal massager today. This is quite a simple one. It's just got one button on the back that turns it on. Or maybe you gotta hold it. There you go. And then a whole bunch of different speeds by just pressing that button, and then just a little indicator for the batteries there, the battery status. And then the front's also removable, and this can be changed for different objects or different shapes for different sort of massagers, I guess. The whole thing is just plastic. It does have this nice sort of a grippy feel to it, but nothing too special. On the back or on the bottom, it just has a port for charging, and then that's pretty much it, apart from that button there. It does have a screw here, and I'm gonna guess that whatever these insets here are, that they pull out and there'll be screws there. So I'll see, let's get it open. There we go, we've clamped that. I'll manage to get this off. So the top, actually this should pull out. Yeah, there we go. So the top is just a plastic clamshell with 4 screws that actually mount and hold this thing together. Then we've got this little arm. This is metal. Oh, actually no, this is plastic. So this side, this is plastic. This is metal. This bit here is metal, and then this bit here is actually metal as well. So what we've got is this bit of metal here is what actually actuates in and out. And inside there's a white, I'm gonna guess that's some sort of like a nylon plastic, and there is a little bit of lubricant there. So that's actually what vibrates in and out and moves in and out. So that little ring around of that other plastic material there would just act as a linear bearing, and it would just provide very low resistance for this, and it'd be out of that firm material, so it wouldn't wear out as easy, although over time that will definitely wear out. And then on the inside here we've got this, it is quite reinforced, it does have this nice pattern to it, it is quite thick, but this is plastic, so we've got this plastic arm. It's got a couple of bearings here and here, and then on the other side there we've got another metal bit that spins around in an uneven sort of rotation, and the center of that is what's going to hook up to the motor shaft, which is exactly this here, what sticks out here, which also does have a nice bearing. So it is good to see this actually does have very nice sealed bearings. They'll probably be oiled, greased inside, so no maintenance to that. And this here is more than good enough for what it needs to do. Alright, so there's a few more screws. I'll take them out to see if we can get the actual motor out and have a look at that. Okay, so let's stand this up. So this is the actual motor. It just slides out. So this whole bottom outside bit is actually the rotor, which is what rotates, and the inside will be the stator, which is what stays stationary and has the coils on it. So usually motors are done the other way around, but this is quite heavy frame on the outside, and the weight is distributed quite further out, so it's going to have a much larger moment of inertia. So as this spins, it'll have quite a bit more torque, so it'll be more difficult to actually stop it. So any resistance on that will affect this a bit less, because it does have all of that rotating inertia around it. So that's good to see, and probably why they've done that. There's a few more screws, but that just hold the motor onto this little bracket that then actually holds the whole bracket onto the frame of the massager. But underneath here, the motor is just going to have its own little control board, so that this motor here most likely is actually a brushless one. It feels very little resistance. I can't feel any brushes, which will mean it's probably going to need 3 different phases. So if we look at it there, we can see it's going to have 3 big transistors there for switching to actually turn each of those phases on and off. And then it's going to have a little microcontroller that's actually going to be controlling the thing, a little diode capacitor, and then we've got the signal coming in. So it's going to have a whole bunch of sensors as well. Actually, this might be going out to the coils, but there'll be inputs here for some sensors as well. And those sensors will actually just sense the position of where this motor is. And then it just has, like I said, sort of 3 different poles inside. So then it has to turn those 3 poles on in the right succession to keep that motor turning. But yeah, it definitely is a brushless one, which is nice. They usually provide more torque, are faster, and they'll wear out less because there's no physical brushes touching that to wear it out. And then further to that, we've also got a really nice bearing here as well up the top, and there'll be another bearing on the inside. So that's good to see. That's a very nice motor. And then that actually, well, it sits in this bracket, and then this bracket just holds it in together, just in sort of the top of where you hold this massager, so just up here. It does have enough clearance, obviously, to spin around because this external bit does turn. So it does have enough clearance to spin around that, but there isn't much ventilation. Actually, there's pretty much no ventilation there at all. So as this warms up, there's a little bit of an air gap in the plastic, which does not dissipate heat very well. So although this will get hot, it's not going to transfer the heat all that well out of it. So prolonged use of this might not be too good for it because it will warm up. And then in the actual handle of this, apart from the motor in the top, it just looks like we've got the battery there. So it does have 2 outputs or 2 connectors that lead from the battery into the board. So actually the board's got a few more screws. Let's have a look at that so we can see the inside there too, or the other side of it. So the battery has two different connectors. One of them says charge and the other one doesn't actually say anything. So one will be specifically for charging, and that's actually, the wires for that are a bit thinner, which we can see these ones here are a little bit thinner than these ones. So the charge circuit will just be at a obviously not as much current, so the wires don't need to be as thick. But then when it comes to actually pulling the power from the battery to power the motor, we have these thicker cables here. And then we've got just this little random spacer that sits in the bottom of this, where the button is, and the little LED indicators. So that just means that the other side of this board, we just have a single button in the center, which is what presses it to turn it on and off and then change the modes. Then we've got an array of LEDs there. So 4 LEDs, so it says charge LED as well. So these guys will be there to indicate the state of charge. And on the other side of the button, we have another 5 LEDs there, which I think indicate the actual speed of the motor. Then we just have a little microcontroller, which is what we'll be doing the actual thinking on this board, a little inductor and another little chip over there, maybe just for some filtering from the battery coming in, or maybe that'll be even the charge controller. On the other side, actually, this is probably where the charge control is going to be. There's a couple of little IC chips there. That's probably going to be a diode, most likely. At default, it's going to be a diode over there, so that'll just prevent the current from going back into the charger. So it just comes from a pin there right through the diode and then into the circuit here to actually charge the battery. And then we've got, oh, sorry, of course that makes sense. What that charge there isn't, that charge cable is just going to be connected straight down to this cable here. So that'll come straight through this charge and then go into the actual charge port here in the battery, in the PCB. And then we just have a couple of other smaller capacitors there just for a bit more filtering and power storage there. So that's it. The other thing that I did actually notice is we do have this controller here for the motor. So it does have these 4 pins up the top, which I'm not sure what that says because that's some sort of other writing. And then we have PWM down the bottom. So that makes sense. This board, depending on what you press, what different speed it is, it'll just send a pulse width modulation signal from this onto the motor controller, and then the motor controller is actually what's going to start doing the switching and control the speed of the motor based on that. So if you're interested in these 2 kind of circuits, there they are side by side. There we go. And then this screw down here. Oh, there's one on the other side as well. That makes sense. Okay. So I did undo this screw already on the other side, but there's another one here. I'm just not sure what this actually is going to open up. It's probably how the battery goes in from the bottom. So we might just be able to pull the battery out and actually have a look at that. Yeah, so the battery just sits right there, and then I've got the 2 contacts going in. So there we go, there's the battery there, and it has some markings. So rechargeable lithium ion battery, 2.5 amps, and not sure what the voltage is, but there we go, that's just what the battery that sits inside there. It's quite tightly packed in here, but it does have these nice sort of foam pads on it. So it sits in there really sturdy, it doesn't rattle around, which is good. As this whole machine would vibrate quite a lot as this arm goes in and out. Now just as I push this back in, I just want to be careful not to rip any of these wires or any of these charging ones here. But I can leave that till actual deassembly video. So that's it, that's the whole thing torn apart, and a quick breakdown of how the different components of it work. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, and if you want to see more of this sort of stuff, then consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.